We're making donuts. 2 ingredients, no gluten, no yeast, sugar-free, delicious. Hi guys, welcome back to Bread and Butter. I hope you're subscribed to this channel. If you're not, go ahead and click the button so you always know when we've dropped a new video. Today is donut day. Now we all love donuts, all of us. It's impossible to not love them. Fried, like oily, creamy, buttery, really kind of poofy, but I love me a donut, but I hate the way I feel after eating like a normal, commercially bought donut. It's heavy, I feel like crap afterwards. So I tried to come up with a version of a donut that would keep my body feeling happy and that would give me that satisfaction I get from a donut. And voila, that's today's recipe. So what is so amazing and incredible about these guys? First of all, this is all you need to make them. We're not even gonna count the salt and the baking powder. It's basically just 2 ingredients. We're using bananas. Healthy, delicious, a great source of, potassium, fiber. This is the good and healthy stuff. And get the ones that have like the dark spots because they tend to be a bit more on the sweeter side. And yes, we're not using any added sugar. This is what's gonna sweeten up our donuts. Second thing we need is flour. And today we're using rice flour because I wanted to make these donuts accessible to everyone so they are gluten-free. Can you substitute the rice flour for like an all-purpose? Yeah, for sure. But I like it with these because the rice flour is kind of neutral and it really lets like the sweetness of the bananas shine. What else? Again, as I've mentioned, a tad of baking powder and some salt. Now, super easy to make. All we have to do, peel the bananas, chuck them in a blender, let that guy do all the work. He's gonna mash it into a beautiful puree, add all the other ingredients, these 3, and that's it. And we're ready to go. Now, could you cook up these donuts without using any equipment? For sure. You can totally mash up the bananas with a fork. I'm just really lazy today. I wanted to share something with you. So, I'm a huge fan of plants. I have a lot of them in my home. I like taking care of them. I like growing them. I just think they're beautiful. I feel like I live in a jungle. It makes me happy. My mom always used to have a lot of plants in her apartment, and she would always water them and kind of talk to them. And I was small, I used to think, my God, that looks so insane. But now I've completely morphed into my mom and I have the same thing happening. What am I doing? I'm actually collecting the banana peels. So I read an article that because we know that bananas are super healthy, the article says that the peel actually has a lot of that good stuff. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the peel inside a jar, we're gonna cover it with water and let this sit for a day or 2, and the water is gonna change into like this kind of pale, kind of gross substance, and that is exactly what we're going to use as a fertilizer and water our plants. Let me know in the comments below if you've heard of this and if you've tried this, or if you have any other tips for me how to keep my jungle growing. I'll really appreciate that, but that's a good idea for you. So we're going to mash up the bananas, add everything else, and then we're going to start heating up the oil, and I'm going to tell you all about safely frying up things in the comfort of your kitchen. Now, some of my followers get intimidated by stir frying, and you shouldn't. It's very simple, especially if you follow a few basic rules. Number 1, we're not using any good, like expensive olive oil to fry up donuts. Save that stuff for like a yummy salad. What we're using is vegetable oil, a neutral one. And it should say for stir frying or like frying oil. So go with that stuff. Another thing, you're not like wasting it. I have these donuts at least once a week, and I tend to use and reuse the oil 3 to 5 times. So when you finished frying this batch of donuts, just let the oil cool down, filter it, bottle it, and it's ready to go for your next time. Rule number 2, I like to fry in a cast iron because this thing heats up really well and it kind of holds the heat. This is important because the oil is going to be hot at a certain temperature. We'll get back to that. The dough is kind of cool. So when we put the donuts, the cold dough, into the oil, it's going to kind of chill it. That's going to help keep the temperature. That's the idea. Now, another point. Don't be stingy with the oil. You need to have enough oil to give the donuts some room, some space so they can kind of float around. On the other hand, you don't want to fill up the cast iron with too much oil because God forbid it heats up and bubbles over. So I like to fill it up about halfway through, maybe let's say 2/3 of the total height. Now, temperature. This is like the key step because we need the donuts to fry up and get like a really nice color, get some darkening, get crispy on the edges. But we need them to cook through on the inside. So if the temperature is too high, it'll just fry up and turn into little black stones and it's gonna be gross. And they probably will be kind of raw in the middle. But if it's too cold, it's just gonna take ages and they're gonna overcook and it's gonna become gross. So I've determined that 150, that's Celsius, not Fahrenheit. I think it's easy to convert, look it up on Google. So 150 is like the sweet spot. It's gonna allow them to cook through, but again, on the same time, give you that gorgeous crispy edges and the browning. So we're gonna use this little thing. This is like a really important like kitchen gadget. It's something that you really need. It's a really useful tool. So I use this to measure the temperature of the oil. This has both Celsius and Fahrenheit. And it's nice because it has this little thingy here that allows it to kind of stay in place. Now, why do we need it to stay in place? Because again, so we heated the oil up to 150. We put in the donuts and we want to check to see what's happening with the temperature. You don't want it to go overboard. So if you see that it keeps rising, we have to lower the heat and stop the process. But if it drops too much, you can always pump up the heat. So this is a useful gadget. Now, let's talk about the donuts and how we're gonna fry them. So the oil is almost at the necessary temperature. I'm gonna lower the heat. Now, so we want the donuts to be kind of like in a uniform size. So I'm gonna scoop the dough with this thing, which is an ice cream scooper. It's gonna make everything a lot easier. Before we dip this into the dough, I suggest you kind of coat it in oil so it doesn't stick to the ice cream scooper. Then we're gonna put it in about 4 to 5 donuts. We don't want to crowd them in the Dutch oven because we need to give them some room to kind of, feel themselves. And then we're gonna fry them for about 4 to 5 minutes. So again, what we need is the golden crust, but we do need them to be able to cook through in the middle. Then we take them out with this thing. I have no idea what it's called. Let's say it's like a ladle thingy. And we're gonna put them on a baking tray that I have a tissue on so that this can absorb all of the excess oil. That's it. Let's go. How cute do these guys look? Okay, I can't wait to dig in. Can you hear that crunch? They're like sweet, soft pillows with like this crunchy exterior, really kind of sweet and yummy in the middle. Guys, okay, some of you might say, it's not a donut. First of all, they don't have holes in the middle. And you don't have the yeast and the glaze and the... Look, this totally satisfies my craving. If I woke up, we had a fun night the day before, I'm hungover, this is what I need. Plus, there's no yeast, there's no gluten, there's no dairy. It's just 2 ingredients and they are gorgeous. You gotta try these. You gotta try this. Oh my God.